I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I hear a motion that we have the approval of the agenda? So moved. Motion is made by Councilman David McGowan. Second by Councilman Randy Jernigan. All in favor? We'll move forward with the approval of the minutes. There are some past minutes here that y'all have been made aware of and some closed session minutes which each of you have read. My question is, can we do all these at one or we have to do them individually?
Unless somebody has a question about something they want to pull out from the group.
So does anyone have any question about any of the minutes that were submitted to you before or tonight? If not, do I hear a motion that we approve these minutes as written? Approved. Motion, Councilman Johnny Eason. Second by Councilman Philip Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll move forward. At this time, we'd like to make a special presentation to our Veterans Day, a proclamation of Veterans Day 2018. This is the 50th anniversary of the war in Vietnam, as I understand. The 75th anniversary is coming up this summer, World War II. Plan to be there.
I wasn't in that
Not many of them left that are, but we do indeed thank you for what you have done. And we have with us tonight Donald Byrd, Ed Sasser, David Perkins, Mike Steele, Denny Curran, and David McGowan.
Maybe I should read it from here. It's me, not you. I want to thank you all, first off, for attending tonight. This is pretty much on me. This is not something anybody else sponsored. It's something that I feel deeply about. This year, 2018, I mean, what we're here is generally accepted as the 50th anniversary of the war in Vietnam. It's not the start of it. It's not marking the end of it, but it's widely accepted as the year that saw the largest number of U.S. troops fighting in Vietnam and the year that saw the largest number of vets returning from the war. This is sort of like a history lesson to some folks. Over the course of the war, about 2.6 million men and women served in Vietnam, and 58,220 of our nation's young died. 1,601 are still missing today, and it's estimated that only about 1.5 million Vietnam vets are still with us, largely due to continued deadly illnesses associated with the poisonous defoliant Agent Orange. Unlike other wars, soldiers, Marines, airmen, and sailors went to Vietnam generally as individuals and not as a large unit. They returned the same way when their tour was completed, and they found themselves walking through airports, mostly in California, sometimes less than 48 hours after walking through or flying above the rice paddies and the jungles. The culture shock was palatable. Again, unlike other wars, they were not greeted with handshakes, pats on the back, and welcome home. Instead, and largely thanks to, this is my opinion now, a large anti-war population stirred by years of nightly misleading television reports, they were greeted at the airport by shouted obscenities, labels of atrocities, and thrown fluids or spitting. This has largely been forgotten, but not by us. These men and women moved on, sometimes to their next duty station, but mostly to civilian life, where they buried their past and they moved on. They were proud of their service, and they are today. I'd like all of you to think of this. This is something a little bit different. When you meet a veteran, any veteran, peacetime, wartime, it doesn't matter. Instead of saying, thank you for your service, which has become somewhat routine. It's appreciated, but it's routine. Try saying this for once. Thank you for your sacrifice. Because whether they went to war or served in peacetime, each one sacrificed to serve. They sacrificed years of being away from home and family, missing births and funerals, birthdays, graduations, and just family and friends in general. Saying thank you for your sacrifice would mean so much more to each veteran. Tonight, I thought it appropriate at this 50th year to honor a small group of Wilson's Mills Vietnam veterans, that you may see every day and pass in the street, not knowing what they proudly did. So gentlemen, as I call your name, if you would please stand. Born and raised in Wilson's Mills, Mr. Donald Byrd. Donald served as a Marine infantry rifleman from 1968 to 1969. Denny Cutton served in Vietnam from 1967 to 1968 as a Marine infantryman. Ed Sasser. Ed was an Army infantry rifleman with the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment from 1969 to 1970. David Perkins is another Marine infantryman, having served in Vietnam from 1966 to 1967. And finally, Mr. Mike Steele served 2 tours in Vietnam as a Marine gunny sergeant from 1966 to 67, and again from 69 to 70. Gentlemen, I thank you for your sacrifice, and as a fellow Vietnam vet, I'm going to say something to you that generally only Vietnam vets say to each other because of the past history. Gentlemen, welcome home. Thank you. Gentlemen, you are dismissed if you like. You certainly don't have to stay.
You ready to go?
There you go. That recliner awaits.
It's one other thing. It's also the 50th anniversary of the Battle of Wade, the 10th of February,
Yes, sir.
1968. I was at the anniversary in Mayport, Florida in June. There's a ship named the USS Way City, named after the battle. I'm a Way City veteran.
There you go. That was a tough battle. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Good man, Ed.
It's been available a while. At this time, we'll have our first open forum. Anyone signed up to speak? Come forward at this time. If not, we'll close our first open forum and we will ask for Mr. Lee Grissom to come forward from the auditing firm of S. Preston Douglas and Associates to present our financial statement or financial report.
All right, good evening.
Evening.
Tough act to follow. That's good. Yeah, I'm here. My name is Lee Grissom. Again, I'm here to present the audit for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2018. Should have the audit reports in front of you. And if there's any questions I'm going through this, what I'm going to do is I have some required communications I need to get to the board or to communicate to you guys. And I'm going to go through selected pages, which I think are important to look at. So any questions along the way, feel free to stop it and ask me. So some housekeeping items. First of all, during the course of the audit, we had no disagreements with management. They provided full access to records during the course of the audit. We did not find any illegal acts, and we did not consult with other auditors. So that's just housekeeping stuff we have to present to the board. Moving right along, the main thing during this audit versus last year, there's been a lot of turnover, a lot of new faces at the town of Wilson's Mills. So Tara, who was the lead person on this particular audit, which was dated August 27, 2018, she signed the management rep letter. So she's the one that did all the assisting on this particular report. So whatever I say here, and there's a lot of good stuff in this report. I guess the risk, turnover is always a risk from an audit standpoint. You have new staff, so I can't say a whole lot about 19, and I haven't had a chance to meet the new people. So just keep that in mind as I speak about this fiscal year. Real quick, just about the auditor opinion, page 1 and 2. And again, this balance sheet is June 30th, 2018, and for the years that ended, the 12 months ending June 30th, 18. You can see a paragraph, management's responsibility. And so management, which is the people that are gone now, they're ultimately responsible for these financial statements. So what we're doing here is giving an opinion that it can be relied on. But it does ultimately fall on management. So that's an important distinction. Also, auditor's responsibility, that's the opinion that we express. But again, it's not absolute assurance. There's a materiality aspect. So this is not, you cannot trust this by the dollar. So that's really important for me to that to come across. Okay. And with that being said, we did issue a clean, unmodified opinion. So that's the highest level of assurance that you can rely on these financial statements. So let's go to some of the meat of the financials. I was asked by the mayor he wanted 3 figures, and they all relate to page 12 and 14. So page 12 is the balance sheet, the general fund balance sheet of Town of Wilson's Mills, June 30th, 2018. The fund balance, so just starting at the top, you have your assets, you see cash there, 781,000, restricted cash, 350,000. Keep on going down, you see, minimal amount of accounts payable. And then, so you take your assets minus your liabilities, you get to that fund balance number, which is really important, that $1.2 million. That's one figure that's important. And then you can see in the fund balance category of that 1.2, you have restricted fund balance. So there's a couple of restrictions there, but what's really important is the unassigned fund balance, and that's the amount that the town can use without restriction. So that's a really important number. That's 779,000 right there. And so what you take that 779,000 and you divide it into the expenditures on page 14 of the general fund to come up with the fund balance, unassigned fund balance as a function of expenditures. And the expenditures were about $1.3 million fiscal year 18. And that percentage is 60%, which represents about 7 months of kind of like an emergency fund. So 8% is 1 month. So 60% is a little over 6 months of unassigned fund balance as a portion of expenditures. So the LGC, Local Government Commission, always looks at that number. It's a really important indicator of the health of the general fund. And on page 14, the third thing the mayor wanted me to point out, the gain and loss for the fund balance for the year. On page 14, you can see towards the bottom, the net change in fund position. So this is what the increase in general fund was as a result of fiscal year 18. It's 121,981. So that's basically kind of net income for the general fund. A couple of things interesting. The year before, expenditures were a lot lower in the general fund. I think as I was looking at the report, there were a lot of capital outlay in the Parks and Rec this year. So really, I think I'd have to look at the budget for fiscal year 19, but I'm thinking that the expenditures will be lower. So if you took that unassigned that I showed you on page 12 and divided it by a lower number, you'll have a higher reserve. And but again, I'd have to look at fiscal year 19's expenditures. But I did notice the expenditures from last 17's fiscal year compared to 18 was significantly higher. But, any questions about the general fund? Okay, and another thing, a lot of times municipalities about this size have issues in their budget, staying within the budget. So you can go to page 50 and 51. This shows you how the town did relative to the budget. And this is our second year auditing the town of Wilson's Mills, and Tara did a fantastic job the last 2 years making sure that the expenditures were within the budget. So you can see one column is budget, one column is actual, and then you have variance. On page 51, if you were to ever see a negative in the variance, that would mean that there was an expenditure that was over the budgeted amount, and that's where there would be a finding. But for this fiscal year and last fiscal year, we had no issues. So I definitely commend the previous, and I think she was actually the town clerk, but she handled most of the finance. She did Good job. I don't know, the roles are all over the place. I don't know. Maybe you had 3 titles, but, yeah. But anyway, you did a good job there, but she's no longer here. And, hopefully the new people are gonna be terrific. So let's look at, there was new debt in the water sewer fund this year. On page, see it on page 44. And there, you can see on page 44, there's a revenue bonds of 3 million, a little over $3 million. That came into the water sewer fund. That amount is also, so the other side of that is restricted cash. So that's in, I think, a BB&T bank account, which will be spent for water sewer infrastructure needs. My understanding is that's going to be paid by a grant. Is that accurate? I think either in this fiscal year or the next. I don't think the town is on the hook for that.
It's a grant/loan from USDA.
So the town will never end up having to pay that.
Yeah, we'll have to pay it back, but we're paying it back to USDA. So basically what's with BB&T is you can compare it to a construction loan.
But will the grant money come in to match what the payment obligation is?
Not the total.
It's not, but most of it, it's my understanding.
No. Do you remember the difference between the grant and the loan amount from
It's
USDA?
57% loan, 43% grant.
Okay. But my understanding is that revenue bond will go away in the maybe next fiscal year or the
That's
following.
correct. That's correct. The revenue bond will go away.
And then my understanding, I didn't realize this last year, but and I'll flip, let's go to the page, the water sewer balance sheet income statement. That's on page 17 and 18. Page 17, it's the balance sheet for the water sewer fund. You can see at the top the restricted cash. That's the amount of unspent cash from that loan that I just was mentioning. If you scroll down, you can see a large number in construction in progress, $1.8 million. And then continuing to scroll, current portion of long-term liabilities, that's where that loan is sitting. So the balance sheet is basically cash and debt primarily. But my understanding is that's good, like what I just mentioned to Leanne, that's going to be gone, I think, next year, in the next fiscal year. And then my understanding is there's not going to be operating revenue in that fund for the future.
There will be some, it'll be a smaller amount, but there will be
Very small amount. And then maybe you'll see transfers for the debt service payment. Take a quick pause here.
What was the last comment that you said about the transfer?
Oh, what we anticipate seeing in this on page 18, basically the income statement for the water sewer, it'll just be transferred from the general fund to pay that service. And then maybe a minimal amount of revenue.
That's correct.
That's what we, okay. Any questions? I hope that wasn't confusing. I thought about not even going there with this during this presentation. Okay, and here, let me hand this little, I created this graph. Going back to the health of the general fund balance, I went back to 15, so you have 4 years of fiscal year data here. But there's, you see in 18, there's the $1.2 million I mentioned earlier. And then 17, that's where the fund balance was, and then 16 and 15. So you see a nice positive trend of growing the fund balance over the last 4 years. So Wilson's Mills has seemed to have done a good job the last 4 fiscal years. Seem to be on a good pace. So. All right, let's go to the internal control report in the back. It's on page. Page 60. So Leanna was upset about this. Section 2, financial statement findings. There's just due to the lack of number of employees at the town of Wilson's Mills and the finance-related departments, there's a segregation of duties issue. So that's what the finding on page 60, and then 61 is the corrective action plan. But if you only have an office of, say, 2 or 3 finance people, it's nearly impossible to segregate the duties the way to have adequate internal control. So that's what that note's getting at. And it's very typical for towns the size of Wilson's Mills. Me and Leanne have actually, she sent me a spreadsheet of all the duties, and we've kind of been going through and just trying to, mitigate all of the risks that we can given the size and make sure we separate the tasks. So that the person collecting cash is not also, recording the entries for that activity. So you're trying to do the best you can with the number. But any questions there?
Didn't we start to address that the past couple of months? That
We have, that was the purpose for the new position, the new admin assistant position, which also assists with finance stuff. So now with Lee's help, we've started, like you said, segregating those duties between 3 people.
do you think this time next year we'll see the same sort of cause and effect thing? Do you think we'll see this
There'll
again
be a
next
similar,
year?
there will be that finding. It's hard to get around,
Okay.
but, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, given the controls, what I've seen here in the last couple of years, the town's done a terrific job. And particularly the budget comes up with the board comes up with the budget and the town's been following it and not going over the budget line items by department. So I think that's, given the size, that's really good. And especially seeing the trend, it's been an upward trend of fund balance and cash. So you're seeing a lot of good things here. But as far as that finding, it's going to be difficult given the size of the number of people. That covers all the areas I wanted to touch on tonight. Any
Thank you.
more questions?
Any councilman have any questions for this gentleman before he?
At 7/1/2018, our fund balance was 1,202,000.
Correct.
But unrestricted, it's 779,000.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on with our regular meeting. Planning report. I'm gonna add a couple of things before we get into that. Johnny, if you'd like to give us a quick report on the Highway 70 corridor meeting last Thursday, if there's anything new updated to what is taking place today?
Nothing no further than they are on schedule. This supposed to let bids September of next year. They're buying right-of-ways and acquisitions now. I talked with Ronnie Keeter, Ms. Worley was down there too. And I talked to Ronnie and we got the situation straightened out, hopefully, on Swift Creek Road about our sewage. But we're gonna wait till the sewage meeting to find out. There's a few perks in it that we don't really agree with. But other than that, everything's fine. They talked about the new rail system that's going in Rocky Mount. The state's gonna put in $118 million. CSX is only gonna put in 22. But they're gonna build that hub. State's gonna help them build it. It's just like the global transport hub. The states come in and they're gonna help it out. put some money in it, get it going. It'll boost the economy around here more than people really realize.
Okay, and Valerie was at the, railroad meeting last Thursday. You want to give us an update on that? This was in discussion with a commuter rail possibly from Johnston County.
Yeah, so the NC Rail Company, the president was there to speak about it. It was hosted by the Economic Development, Smithfield Selma Economic Development, and it was pretty general. He didn't really get into too much of the specifics, but basically my take from it was due to the cost of it, we're not really gonna see it in the near future, but to get involved with Wake County, because a lot of the money that would potentially fund it would have to come through them from the sales tax, and if, they found a benefit in the traffic from Johnston County to Raleigh also, but it was like a million per
Mile.
mile. So it's just kind of a first point and get people at the table thinking about it, talking about it, but no definite near-term plans, but.
Mayor.
Did you get anything different from Mayor? You were there, right?
Oh, yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
There were 8,500 people identified who travel from Johnston County to other places to work each day. And there are about that same number who come back to Johnston County for employment each and every day. This is probably an 8 or 10 year reality thing to come forward, but Wilson's Mills is the prime target. Selma has got a small railroad situation there, but they're the crossroads for north and south. But Wilson's Mills is the one for the commuter rail because of the parking that's available, the double track that was here our whole lifetime until 15 years ago or so. But if they had to be a second rail, the bed is already there, so they don't have to acquire that property, just putting that rail back in place. So it's a long endeavor, but there again, we're in the middle of what's taking place with a brown zone economic growth and or potential commuter rail from Johnston County to Raleigh. However, it does not go to the Research Triangle Park, which they pointed out, and everybody in the room was flabbergasted that that was not an available situation, but they could build a spur, but the cost to that spur was going to be $38 million per mile, which is unbelievable. So it doesn't go to Research Triangle Park, which first was discussed. Anyway,
All right, if I may,
certainly.
could we back up to the meeting that I guess you attended, you were talking about? Leanne, if you recall that email that I sent to you about the flooding plan?
Yes.
I'll refresh your memory. Let me just throw it out so people understand, and then you can tell me what happened there. And that was, I read a report and I sent an email in asking about the report, and it said that Corps of Engineers have identified many years ago, 35 different points where things could be done, i.e. small reservoirs that would prevent Neuse River flooding further down the line. And they said an updated report showed that because of whatever expansion, there's only really 2 viable places in which they could put in what they referred to as dry reservoirs, which would be used during times of flooding to prevent flooding down the river, Goldsboro, Kinston, that area. And one of them was Wilson's Mills. And I went, whoa, okay, that's interesting. Where is that going to be? What are they talking about? And you said that it was brought up at the meeting. So go ahead, Johnny. What?
They didn't give us any indication of where it would be, but they're doing studies on it now. They have got people from the Netherlands to come over and help them because they had the same problem overseas.
Okay.
And they're talking about buying up farms, but you can still farm them unless it floods.
That was the reaction that a lot of people had.
I'm the geography around here, and correct me if I'm wrong, the only place that I could see that legitimately that would be a place for them to buy up, would be the Clifford Uzzell property that
That's
backs up to
exactly
the
right.
Newts. Am I correct?
And they have some property down lowlands in Brogdon.
Would this be like an eminent domain situation where even if Mr. Uzzell says, no way, they're gonna take it for a quote unquote dry reservoir?
They're gonna put it, it's under study now, and I figure it'd take 5 years because then again, Durwood's pushing it,
Who's Durwood?
Durwood Stevens.
They
Do I-
presented a timeline, and the timeline was about 5 years out to
Mhm.
that, to even finish the study.
Yeah.
But I think in answer to your question about some of the areas around here and whether or not they would be affected, I think it's probably gonna be more of a land acquisition type thing. Because they're, as he said, they're still gonna be able to farm the land if it's taken as, not taken. I
Well,
don't
they
wanna use that
mentioned
word,
something
but-
about using it as park areas, and that's what I was thinking, well, if you buy it up to use it as park, Mr. Uzzell's certainly not gonna be happy because he farms that right now.
Actually, it doesn't affect his farmland. It was identified in 1965, the
That's
first time we heard anything about it. And it was identified as the Uzzell property, the Stuckey property, the Wellens property, and the Holden property. And the Parrish family also has a connection to that, but it's woodlands that is not tended as
Oh, okay.
daily farmland, but it's classified as lowlands, but not wetlands.
Okay.
That was the identification in 1965.
Okay.
And they came to us about it, and they ended up buying a piece of land from our family. Part of the piece of land is where the water treatment plant is now, and this is in front of the water treatment plant, which is presently serving a lot of Johnston County.
Well, I guess the only point, thank you for all that's enlightening, but we talk about 5 years down the line, so it's something that we can kind of put off to the side. But we've had, in the past 3 years, 3 major storms, 2 of which caused major flooding down the line, so I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of get a kick in the butt and they up that from 5 years to, something a little
I
bit.
think money's gonna be one of the things. That's one of the things that's holding them really. But in strictly my opinion, Corps of Engineers could help out a lot. They could start releasing water before it gets here.
And they could dredge the rivers, which they
Yeah,
haven't
well,
done.
that was
Well,
another
that
option.
was brought up as well, and
Yeah.
that was,
Yeah, they talked about dredging the river.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to throw it out there because it concerns me, and even though it's 5 years down the line, I think we'll see something sooner than that. There's a lot of voters down there that have been flooded out 2 and 3 times, and I think Raleigh's gonna do something about it soon. So anyway,
But
thank you, okay.
they had talked about one time putting an instrument of dams down Neuse River to slow it down. So,
Incremental releases, okay. All right, thank you all, appreciate it.
Okay.
Once it's tore down.
At this time, Ms. Valerie, you have your
Looking at that.
planning department report.
Yeah, so this covers the month of October. There were 8 different lots from Tralee with new single-family homes that were approved, residential, a fence permit, accessory building permit, and sign permit. As far as the subdivision, we have Tralee phases 5 and 6B was approved planning board on the 5th. And Willis Crossing, it appears they may need to go back and get a special use permit, so I just wanna clarify with Mr. Anderson tomorrow, but, so that probably won't be on the agenda next time. Then also just talking about meetings too, I did start attending the rural planning organization, the, technical committee meetings. So I went to that one a couple weeks ago, and the only thing that really was real close to home, they were prioritizing transportation projects for funding, and one that rated high that they're gonna push on through was adding a turn lane on Swift Creek Road into the airport, the Johnson County Airport, and into neighboring industrial parks. So that one they were supporting and will probably get funded. So if there's anything transportation related that I need to be aware of, let me know, because I guess we don't have representation at the TAC, so.
We do not, but I did talk with, the representative after the meeting, after the Highway 70 Commission meeting, and, he's gonna send us some information on who. So probably in December, you all need to be thinking about who's gonna need to be attending that meeting, because it does have to be, that one has to be an elected official.
See, when I
It's in
spoke,
Wilson.
when I spoke to,
Or
James,
TCC.
TAC, I'm TCC,
Okay.
but when I spoke to, James, I believe, the head there, he said that I guess we lost our spot because no one, I don't know.
Kenny Jones
Yeah,
was,
Kenneth was on it.
was the representative, and he's off the board.
So they do it, we don't automatically get a seat.
Right.
So Benson basically took,
But it
they,
alternates, so
okay,
it doesn't.
okay. Cause I was
I think
asking
next
about it.
year they'll probably want to bring it back, but I think it's every other year. Every other year, every 2 years, so, but he's supposed to be sending
Every
me some
2 years.
information. What's the name of the guy that was at the meeting? It wasn't James, he was not there, Randy.
No, but if you remember, we met with Rick Hester and the boy from Benson back in the summer in regard to that. And it was their request, and we didn't have any opposition to it because
Right.
we had had somebody for several years in a row versus alternating like we should have.
I think Kenneth was for he was there 4 or 6 years, and he was also the president of it one time.
So, and then to also have a request, I guess, as far as on the UDO progress, want to push forward on getting the future land use map and zoning map completed. So, in talking to the Triangle J, because essentially they're just doing the actual GIS work. So I gotta get something together, and I was checking on dates if there's any time before next council meeting on the 17th. If we could get the maps together, if he could come and then do a joint work session with planning board and council again, but have something already proposed and then have discussion about it at that time. But, so of course, schedules are getting a little hectic. The only date that he thought could work would be December 10th. It's a Monday. So didn't know how that worked with everyone's schedule. If we thought it could work, we could request to call a special meeting and then, get blessings on the maps. And then there's a few changes that need to be made to the UDO. And so then we could come back in a month or two and get everything packaged together to go ahead and move forward and adopt. And also probably in that package would also be with the new flood maps. I met with the FEMA rep, he came the other day, so I'll be bringing that information back to you guys too, because we need to reapply for the National Flood Insurance Program, but it sounds like a pretty easy process to get that taken care of, so we could probably just do it all at once and advertise, but.
So can we have the FEMA report by the 10th meeting as well? Because that would have some bearing on which property you were gonna try and include as commercial property, how it would
Yeah, there's
affect
not
it.
a whole lot of changes, but I mean, the maps are available now, so
Okay.
that's no problem. Mhm.
Is everybody in accordance with the December 10th, Donald?
As chairman of the planning board, I'd like to see it come back the first of the year. There's just too many things going on in December for my family.
Well,
They give them another week or two to get this other information you're talking about in. We waited this long, for another month, but
I don't know. I've been pushing for them to get it started. That was the reason. Because we procrastinated since July, really, of getting this forward. And now we've identified with the Triangle J that the map really needs to come before the UDO is finalized. And I want to get that map discussed more than anything else. But if your group can't meet on the 10th,
Well, laws wasn't there, so.
okay, can
So
we set
something
up?
that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, is this something that the planning board could review themselves on their regular meeting on the third, since they're gonna be meeting on the third anyway, and then
It's not gonna be ready
it
by
will be
the
ready by the
third,
third? For
probably.
the, I got you.
But if we pushed it, back to, we could also have some of the, the concerns that came up with the UDO, kind of have some of those highlighted too, to discuss. Some of them are gonna take meeting with the attorneys to get those right, because there's been some things found that really aren't necessarily legal, so we wanna make sure we get those addressed before we adopt.
What's January 14th look like for everybody?
That a Monday?
Hmm?
Is that a Monday?
That is the second Monday.
What time you looking at?
We'll make it 7 o'clock. That help you?
Well,
It's gonna be dark at 5 now.
I don't know, anything from 2 o'clock on, I'm okay. I just was wondering.
Anybody have a preference with time?
Pick it, I'm fine. I'm out. I'm working tonight.
Okay.
Unless we do it earlier today.
Time is not a problem with me, but we need to get that squared away. I can't be here after that 10th for about 3 weeks.
How early, Randy? 2 o'clock?
What's 2 o'clock do for everybody?
I'm good.
Everybody else good? 2 o'clock on the 14th?
Y'all checking his head. Well, the majority is gonna be there. Don't worry about me. I can be here, I'll be here.
All right.
So we talking about what 10th and what now?
The 14th of January,
14th of January.
14th of January.
But that way too, then the seventh be ready if, planning board couldn't attend, could discuss it at the planning board before too, if it didn't, we'd be ready anyway.
I'd like to call that special meeting if you could do a motion and a vote for that.
Okay, do I hear a motion that we use January the 14th, 2019 as at 2 o'clock, a proposed meeting for identifying the UDO map for zoning?
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Councilman Johnny Easton, second by Councilman David McGowan. All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. We'll move forward. January the 14th, 2 p.m. We'll have a joint meeting between the planning board and the town council to review the mapping. All right, you were talking about the Don Miller incident. You want to bring that up?
Did you want me to discuss that, Leanna?
I can, it doesn't matter.
I can go. We have a request from Donald Miller for a refund. He is requesting all or part, at least, of the rezoning and special use application fees. And as you see in the memo from me, I did attach his letter so that you could see what it is that he's requesting, and he also attached copies of his applications. So we met, Mayor Uzzell and I met with Planning Director Brookins, and what we found is that the original application for these types of requests, as well as several others in the planning department, do not put the responsibility on the applicant to gather all of their information ahead of time. So Valerie put a lot of research time and effort into these applications before finding inconsistencies that would cause them to probably not be approved for what they were applying for. And the normal would be for the applications from the planning department to include this information that the applicant would have to gather all of this research and then apply, at which point they would know whether or not they were going to qualify. So what we've done because of this is Valerie has looked at all of the applications for the planning department. I attached one of them here for you. She gave me a lot of them, but I just put one in your packet for example. Just given more information about the criteria for whatever it is that they're applying for, and also requiring them to fill out more information that would, again, at that point, they're gonna realize whether or not they're gonna qualify for this before they ever even turn it in or pay us any money. So the problem now is kind of being taken care of, but in the situation with Mr. Millard, because whenever Valerie got to that point in his application, we realized that it wasn't anything that he was gonna be able to do, then he withdrew his application and then he asked for a refund. So my recommendation would be that we refund him a part of his money, but not all of it, because we did have time invested for Valerie's research time on what he had turned in.
Is the 900 figure reflective of the hours that Valerie put in, or is that just an arbitrary figure?
Well, what we had started looking at is that we thought maybe some other places had like a pre-application fee, so that staff could do this type of work. But we don't have a big enough staff for that to be the case, and most of the time, that's usually about $500. So we looked into, the time that she had spent and the work that she had done, and he paid a total of $1,400. And if that had been the case, we probably would have charged like a $500 fee for this pre-application, which is not, again, anything that I think we need to do going forward. We need to do it the way she's got the application now. So that was where the $500 came from. We feel like that would compensate her time, but there are a lot of planning fees that don't compensate the time and research work that we've been having to do.
So the 900 was sort of reflective of the hours, but again, sort of arbitrary too.
It's very hard, yeah, I mean, it's hard to pinpoint.
What do you think would make him happy?
Well, I don't know him personally, so I don't know if that's anything that you can answer or not, Mayor. I'm sure he'd be happy with getting as much as he can back. Again, his letter requested that he receive all or part of, so I feel like if we refund him $9, that gives us $500 for the time that Valerie did spend on those applications.
I don't mean to nitpick, but I certainly understand the hours, but half, just sort of splitting it down the middle, 700. I agree with that. I mean, I agree with the refund part, and we've taken steps, obviously, to address that in the future, but, the blame goes both sides, and I say 50-50 down the line. If you all say 900, I'll go with that too. I'm not trying to nitpick $200, but it falls on both of us.
Both ways, that's right.
Huh?
So it goes both ways.
Yeah, it does.
Well, where the 900 came from was a meeting that we had and discussed the thing entirely, and it was their recommendation on keeping 500 for Valerie's time and giving him 900 back for the inconvenience. We want him to not have a sour taste about Wilson's Mills, because he is a prominent builder, and hopefully, well, he's done several things. A piece over there on Benson Road, he was involved in that initial development. That was where it came from.
Well, like I said, I'll go with either one. If you've already had a meeting and discussed it, and you think 900 is sufficient for future down the line, I go with that too.
In relation to his application and stuff, did he do everything he was required to do?
He did everything he was required to do according to the application that we had at the time. But again, what we've discovered in all of this is that in most every other place that you go, the application requires that person to gather that information themselves.
But at that time.
But at that time, yes, he did everything that he was supposed to have done.
And at that time, he assumed that he had done everything he was supposed to do, and then found out later that he had not done everything. Well,
It wasn't required.
Well, what he found out was that, when she did the research work to find out all of the different areas of qualifying for what he was applying for, and then they both talked and decided that it probably wasn't going to be approved based on that. So had he done that research work himself prior to that, he wouldn't have even applied or paid. And that's the purpose of doing the newer applications going forward.
If we do less than the entire 1,400, I see where he says either all or part. Do you think we would be subjecting ourselves to any kind of legal recourse if we didn't come up with the full or at least 900?
Well, I'm not an attorney, but I wouldn't think so, because quite honestly, we're not obligated to give him anything.
Okay.
I
That's
mean,
good.
you know, it's
Okay.
just like the
Okay,
annexations, yeah.
trying to touch bases.
For me, the main thing after too, even after we met, the ordinance is actually needs to be revised. So that's where a lot of the issue came. The ordinance said one thing, so my staff report reflected what the ordinance said. But and then in further conversations, meeting with our town engineer, it's interpreted a different way. So,
So it was kind of a problem both ways.
mhm.
Just require a motion.
Yes.
I make a motion, we send a check for $900. 900.
Second.
Second, motion's been made by Councilman David McGowan and seconded by Councilman Randy Jernigan that we refund Millard Incorporated or Millard LLC $900, part of the $1,400 he had paid in advance for the subdivision. All in favor? All opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, we'll move forward. Discussion for a long-range planning retreat for the town council, and I'm requesting that we also do that sometime in January. Let the holidays get over and everybody be focused, and we move forward with sometime in January to establish our first meeting. We've got several issues that we need to resolve as far as the town is concerned, its growth, its development. And we found out, and that's a prime example of growing extremely fast, and it's going to get worse, boys and girls. It's going to be horrendous before it's all said and done. Wilson's Mills is going to grow, and we need to be prepared for it and ready for it to the best of our ability, and seek all the advice that we can seek. So, do I hear a date that works good for the council to do so with its first planning retreat?
Mayor, if I could, there are a couple people through Triangle J, the League of Municipalities. There are retired people from the League of Municipalities who serve as
Facilitators.
facilitators, not for free. That is a paid thing. But I think that's really important, given the fact that the town is growing so fast, and it gives an outside perspective to kind of serve as a go-between with everybody's different opinions and bringing everybody together. And so if that's something that you'd like for me to look into, I can get some quotes on that as well.
I think that's critically important, and we can decide that on the December meeting. And let's give some dates maybe, and then she can find out if a facilitator is available on those particular dates.
It will probably be more than one meeting, so,
No question.
if there are days and times that work better, Randy, I know you really don't ever really know when your schedule is gonna be, but, I'd hate for us to pick a facilitator based on who's available then, because I think it should be based on who would do the best job for what we have going on. But, if it would be, if you're not looking to do this until January, February, if you'd like for me to get some dates from a couple of facilitators and some prices, and then we can look at those specific dates since we'll know when they're available.
Very good.
That's an option too. If you want to do that. I think
yeah, let's
I've
do
got
that.
some dates coming up in January and February that I will be unavailable to be here. I'd have to look at the available dates for these people, and then I can find out what my dates will be that I can be here.
Okay,
But I'm gonna have to look at that because
We'll
I've
know in the
obligated
next
myself to
meeting.
be.
that's what I can definitely get the dates and the cost. And then at the December meeting, we can look at the different options.
Can you get us a list of those dates before the December meeting so that we can look at
Sure.
their schedule and everything so that we'll know when we get here
Sure.
that for the December meeting of the dates that we're available
Yeah.
compared to the dates that they're available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is everybody good with that? We'll move forward then. Street department report.
we have the maintenance and street department list from, Matt. There are a few things that I need to do. Mr. Easter has asked that we, do some cleaning down on, at Oleander, and what was the other one? I can't think of the name.
Coriander,
Coriander.
coriander runs into
I'll be getting with Matt.
Pritchett.
Yeah, I'll be getting with Matt on, cleaning that out for us. Also, we're looking at, Country Valley Place and maybe, have you
Yes.
done anything on this?
I spoke with, the Eastons on that. They are willing to do a temporary maintenance agreement, but they will not give up any more land. The 2,000, feet is out of the question. They will sign some paperwork saying that we can fix what's there now, put it back where it needs to go in the original right of way, but anything after that, no.
So what do we have to do? Wait for another big storm?
No, I think we need to start thinking about, clearing the limbs and stuff off. And I think we need to think about, grading and graveling it. And that's a little bit, we haven't done anything to that road in maybe 2 or 3 years. So,
We spoke at one point about, and I don't know if it would impact the Easton's property, but putting another set or larger drain pipes in through there. Can we do that without having to do anything with them?
You gotta have a maintenance agreement with them because
Is that what they're talking
it's
about
going
now?
on their property, yes.
It'll go on their property, or we'll have to use their property for part of it?
The way it is now, in order for us to correct the issue, we have to have a temporary easement because it was placed on the wrong,
Okay,
it was partially placed on their property.
Okay.
Well, in order for us to access their property, we've got to have a temporary easement to get back on and correct that and add the additional to it.
and he said he'd give us that, you think?
He would give us the temporary easement to correct the issue that was going on now and add an additional if we needed it. But as for expanding the road,
Right.
that's a no-go.
Do you
well, that
think-
means all we're gonna be able to do is clear the overbrush, make it where the fire trucks and stuff can get down, and if they have to go down it and scrape the road and put some crushing run in there. And I think we need to do that.
Bigger pipes would help them, bigger drain?
I mean, this thing he's talking about, we won't be able to, we'll be able to do do the brush and stuff, but until we get that done, we probably don't wanna do the crush and run until after that's done.
Yeah, you don't want to do anything until it's got to be kept up no matter what, because the guys have to drive their cars down there,
Right.
and they're not going to drive a car down there with a 2-foot hole in the
So
middle.
when all of it's said and done, we got all that stuff done, we got the new crush and everything else. Do you think we're just putting, for your opinion, do you think we're just putting a Band-Aid on it?
No doubt. That's all you're going to do.
Is it a big Band-Aid, or is it one that's gonna come loose next time?
It's gonna come loose.
It's going to
Real
cost the town a lot of money.
So what options do we have? For that? And I don't even wanna go near eminent domain, it's not right, but you've spoken with him, you know him best, you gave it the best shot. We're in a little bit of a dilemma.
So I think our last conversation, Mr. Anderson, is,
We talked about how there was that option, we talked about the pipe option, and then, I think that was where it was. Those were the real options
if it remains a town-owned street, then that's.
It is a town-owned street now, right?
That's in question, but I'm not sure.
If it's not a town-owned street, I don't think the town needs to do
I
anything
mean,
with it, period.
part of it, and, the question is about the easements that were not recorded, that still need to be recorded.
Well, are the easements where they can be recorded?
Well, all except for this one portion of it.
What
Big
portion is
section,
that?
The Cleo Easton portion.
That's the add-on.
No, that's free.
No,
No,
we have
this is the new extension to
That's a
that.
new extension they're talking about, but the original road that's there, the town has an easement for,
We do have an easement, Johnny, but we do not have ownership.
We don't have to do
it's recorded in the courthouse.
the various deeds for the
Yes, it
owners
is.
of the properties.
It's got a book and and a page number on the drawing that I've got.
It's a,
Oh, it is recorded? So if, well, if it's
the
recorded, my
map,
question
what
was.
you're talking about is the map.
Yeah,
No,
Jimmy,
what I'm talking about are the deeds for the, oh yeah, Mr.
The
Anderson.
deeds of easement
The
that
deeds of easement, thank
make
you.
that map possible.
To make the
basically.
map correct, or legal. whichever
Well, see,
you wanna call it.
the deed of easement to start with didn't belong to, it don't belong to Cleo and them. That was a road put through there to start with.
I don't have that stuff in front of me now, but I mean, we can, try to look back
That's
into
what
it.
we've been over before. so.
Yeah.
A lot of this discussion is pretty much for make the road nice for the folks that live back there, et cetera, but I don't know who I mentioned this to. Johnny, I think you and I talked about this. My concern is at some point down the line, this could very well be a public safety issue. If we have another big storm and it washes that out, something happens to Johnny or anybody else that's back there, or the other Mr. Eason's daughter that lives back there, that's a public safety issue. The EMT's gonna sit on the other side, just look at them, nothing we can do. Or we've got to put, our fire department's going to have to be, put at jeopardy to cross over and try and help these people when we should have addressed this a long time ago.
Well, that issue, we've been addressing it.
Ms. Fleeta, how long we've been working on this? 16 years?
It's not that we haven't addressed it, we haven't gotten any cooperation
Right.
from the owner.
That's the
No, I
problem.
understand that,
And
yeah.
the town doesn't wanna just give it back, because we do want to make sure that the residents on that road can have access to what they need access to, and that the town can handle it, but we can't rightly do that on somebody else's property,
I
and
understand.
that property owner isn't budging.
Did you mention the public safety aspect, Randy, when you spoke with
They're
him? He didn't
aware.
really care about
That
that?
doesn't,
That's amazing.
yeah,
They're
it is.
aware of it. Oh, well. Is there any other way to gain access to all your properties back there other than just that?
But if the town's not gonna do anything to it, then take the property owners back there out of the city limits. And that includes me. I
Yeah.
pay $1,200-$1,400 a year, city tax, not county, but city. That $1,200 will work a long ways on that road.
Has the old road that came around by, Percy's place and.
That wasn't a road, that was
And
just,
done away with.
It's just bad.
And the Parkers aren't gonna be any part of opening it up.
no,
It goes
they're
through
not
from
gonna
there
go.
to Powell
She's
County.
already said she's not.
We've
going
already had a
back.
meeting with them there, they're not in the least bit interested.
Randy, what did he say besides just a flat out no? Did he give you a reason?
No, just, he has no problem with it. He don't want anybody to mess with his fences. And he don't want to give the town no more than what they've already got.
But from what you're saying, we don't have that. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I mean, what Mr. Easton is talking about is the map that's recorded, what, in the 50s,
Mm-mm,
30s?
mm-mm. Jimmy Barber
Well-
reported it.
He recorded the map. But in order for the map to be legal, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Anderson, there has to be deeds of easements to go along with that, to say we have the right to have the road.
That was done in
But the people-
that was done in 1913.
And so we don't, the issue I think last time we checked is that we didn't have recorded deeds of easement for everything.
Right.
Correct.
And so it's, I mean, it's kind of in a limbo on where exactly it stands, but.
Well, my question, Randy, for you would be, they're willing to say that we've got the road that's already there, right?
Correct.
So why don't we go back to them and say, hey, all we need is a deed of easement on the road that's already there that you're willing to let us work on. We don't want any more of your property.
Okay.
I mean, if that's the only thing holding us up, you know, we're at the point now, we're not going to widen the road. We're not going to widen the road. And if we need that one easement, those people say that we can work on that road. Well, make sure they give us the easement to work on that road. And then we can go in there and do it. I mean, I'm for getting it done as long as we can legally do it. But, you know, I don't want to say until we can legally do it, I don't want to do it. I mean, now, Johnny says we should be able to legally do it, and somehow we need to come up, somebody needs to tell me, can we do it or
Well,
not?
I'm gonna look to the attorney for that, because it's my understanding that if they're not recorded, whatever the map says, I mean, the map can be recorded, but if you don't have the deeds of easement to go along with it, it's not valid.
The road is recorded in Johnson County Courthouse. And I've got the book and page number 1913. My ancestors gave 12.5 foot, and the guy next to him gave 12.5 foot to make a 25-foot road to go through there. I got the deeds to it at the house.
Can I say something?
You ain't saying that.
Can I say something,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor? Can I say something?
Absolutely.
The road that is recorded at the courthouse as the Valley Place is not the road that they're driving on now. If you look at the map and look at the road, it's not the same road. It has been shifted over. And when Cleo's deed was recorded at the courthouse, it came, his lot and the other lot joins at that road. It covers the road. In other words, Cleo's deed is the road. All of those properties are done that way at the courthouse. There is no easement set aside for the road that's recorded now. And the road that they're driving on is not where it showed on the map.
We discussed that once before, and I'm sure that's correct.
Yes.
But the problem is, as I
So
understand it, and we've discussed this almost a year now, trying to get some way around improving this road for the citizens that live there.
Right.
But Cleo's not gonna budge, so I don't know if there's a legal document that he can find for us to have signed. You can look at the old map and the new map and tell that the road's moved over some, but that happens in a lot of places. That's not just there.
So to
Well,
me,
what I don't understand, but what I'm hearing Randy telling me is that they don't have a problem with where the road's at right now, as long as it doesn't bother his fences and stuff. So why don't we go to him? I mean, you talked with him and they told you that they're okay with where the road is, tell them that we need just
They're
an
good.
easement for that part of the road, that we don't,
They're good with temporary easement.
well, I'm talking about for that part of the road that's already there, we need them to not be a temporary easement. That needs to be to give us the road.
They're not gonna do that.
They ain't gonna do that.
They're not gonna do that.
How about,
I thought you said they were gonna give us the road.
Correct.
A temporary easement to fix what's already there.
No, I think what Mr. Triple is saying is that if they are okay with the road being where it is and the town working on that portion of where it is right now, because the deeds were never recorded before, asking them.
That's
if they
something I'll have
would
to
do that.
ask, right? That's
I
something
mean,
I'll
we're
have to
not
ask.
asking them for any of the land that we've talked about them giving us. We're talking about them giving us a easement or whatever you call it on that road right now, the road that's there. We're not gonna move it a foot left, we're not gonna move it a foot right. We're talking about the road right now where it's at.
Okay.
And you said they're okay with that road being where it's at and giving us a temporary easement to work on it to make it better.
Correct.
Not to move the road, but tell them we've got to have something from them saying that the road's gonna be, that road that's there right now can belong to the town.
Okay.
And then we can work on it. But we can't work on it until we're not asking them to give any of their land. We're asking them to basically give us that road, the one that's there right now.
Okay.
We're not asking them for a foot of their land. If they're considering that road's there and we can work on it. All we need to do is make them say that that's our road.
the town needs that to be able to use Howellville funds on the road in the future. That's the key issue with that. Now, the second issue there is even with that, it's not gonna fix the problem of being a small Band-Aid, to use what he said, which is that it won't fix the full expanded drain pipe possibility, but it would at least let the town, go back to fixing it up as it is and using the funds for it.
with any other tough sale like this, a big tough sale, the best way to get around that is to make small sales and make sure that they know that we're being good neighbors with just fixing it up. keep showing them what we're doing as good neighbors, and maybe down the line, they'll just kind of ease off a little bit.
I would love for us to at least get something done so that we can clean the overbrush and to put some crush and run in there. After we need to scrape it before we put the crush and run. But I mean, I want us to do something for those citizens of Wilson Mills, but you need to explain, we're not asking them now for any land. We're just asking them for the right of way for that where the road is right now. We're not asking for anything else. And if they're okay with where the road is right now, they should be willing to do that.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay, that's it for me in terms of the street department.
Thanks for the attempt, Randy, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it too, Randy. I mean, I'd love for us to get something done with that.
So to clarify, because the engineer is kind of waiting on an answer for this, so that he knows what to do going forward. So the widening and the moving it over and all that he talked about when he was at this last meeting, we're not doing that anymore. But what we would need to have recorded is the road as it is correctly. And Mr. Cleo Eason's deed of easement is not the only one that we would have to get, because we don't have them for anybody. We got a signed one from Mr. Vinson back in 2006, but it was never recorded.
We
All that
don't,
needs
we don't
to
have a
be-
deed of easement for nobody on that
No.
road.
So we go through and get new ones based on the new,
Based on where it
New
is
map.
now,
Okay.
you know, but that's something that, you know, to do that map and along with those, the attorney would need to work on the deed of easement, and then the engineer can work on the map to get it legal where it is now, and then to continue to be able to spend Powellville money on it. So I just want to clarify, is that your decision as far as this goes right now?
Well, that's up to everybody else. That's what I'd like to see us do, but that's up to everybody else now. Because for us to do it, we're gonna have to get that stuff done, and then we got to figure out how, you know, then we can do some work on it and make it better. I mean, that's the number one criteria. I mean, that's the way I feel. Everybody else can say what they want to.
I agree.
Is there anybody against us doing that?
No,
Nope.
I'm trying to stay out of it myself.
Is there, okay, so.
I'm fine.
Leanna, my understanding is we'll try to get that done and get them all recorded.
I don't know how busy the engineer will be between now and the first of the year, but I'll call him and tell him that that's what we're looking to do right now, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Jernigan, are you gonna be the one to talk to Mr. Cleo Eason again? Okay.
All right, let's move forward. Events report, Councilman Wright.
You've got a ordinance in here about road closing for the Christmas parade on, Sunday, December 3rd.
Second.
First Sunday, okay, December 1st Sunday. Time between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. The lineup will be on Mixon Drive at Catawba, and the Wilson Mills Road will be closed from Mixon Drive to Fire Department Road to Town Hall or Railroad Street out here in front.
Is this the same as last year?
Yes.
And
I know. I mean, why don't we're all gonna agree to it. I mean, the thing was good last year. Why don't we just go ahead and make it? I'd like to make a motion to approve the ordinance declaring the road closures for the Wilson Mills Christmas parade. I mean, let's not,
and the closure on First Street out here, with Christmas tree lights from 4:30 to 7 o'clock.
I make a motion that we approve the ordinance declaring the road closures for the Wilson Mills annual Christmas parade and tree lighting.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Triplett to approve the ordinance for the Christmas parade. Second by Councilman David McGowan, all in favor? Ayes have it. All right, good deal.
All right, you've got in your packet bids for fencing to run the front of the, park down to the, chip fencing that the rugby club, contract has put up. I have 2 12-foot gates being locked and so forth. You have one from All Star Fencing and one from Tabco Fencing. All Star on their initial quote is about $1,200 cheaper than Tabco. Tabco, I think that's the way you pronounce it. Anyway. He called me today, asking me a question about something he had mentioned to me a couple of weeks, 3 weeks or so ago, and asked me about have we decided on the fencing. I told him no, but that he was about $1,200 higher than the next bid. They said, well, evidently he figured something wrong, but he went back and he come back and said what they have figured is number 9 gauge wire for the fencing, and he figured 11.5 gauge wire for the fencing. Figured for the scheduled post and so forth and so forth. So on. He's sticking with his bid at 4,500, and but he did say if we wanted that 9 gauge wire and so forth up for the fencing down there, that he could match that guy's price.
9 gauge wire is heavier than 11 gauge.
That's what I was thinking, but I don't know.
Because I had a note on here, what was the gauge of wire quoted for each fence company, and neither one of them had the gauge of wire listed on here.
No, they don't.
The smaller the gauge, the stronger the wire. The higher the number, the less strength.
I don't know where he got the 9 gauge wire from, but that's what he said. He figured that they evidently figured it was a little bit cheaper. But whatever.
Did All Star say they did 9 gauge wire?
I think that's a question that's got to
I
be
didn't
answered.
ask him, didn't ask All Star, but, that's what, Tim was saying.
Do we have any history with either one of them as far as quality of workmanship?
Well, Leanna had fencing put up by Tabco, and, I don't know a thing about All Star. They're out of Clayton. Kim stays here in town. They do what?
I said, mine's still up. I don't know what else, I don't know what
She
gauge
ain't
it
had
is.
it security anymore.
Tabco's done fencing for me, and I'm familiar with All Star, but I think the whole key to the pricing is the gauge of wire. I think the labor's gonna be the same, the gates are gonna be the same, but the gauge of the wire is critical. And I think we need to have that answered before we can make a fair.
I can call All Star and find out what gauge wire and so forth they use.
Okay.
And would Tabco send back a revised estimate based upon that wire? I just don't want to hear somebody say, well, I'll match them. I need to see it in writing. Right.
Yeah, we need
Your
specifics on what they're gonna put up.
The gauge of the post and the gauge of the wire, that's what you need to know.
Right.
Yeah, well,
And Tabco's got to be in writing, not just write on the telephone, I'll match their price.
Correct.
Right.
although you want the price, you want the, on this quote, what gauge wire and, fencing.
The gauge of the wire and the gauge of the post. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. I can probably handle that.
I think we need to table this to the next, meeting.
Anybody have any objection to a table until the next meeting until we can get the particulars on the quotes?
I just want the quotes to be on the
Apples
same,
for
same
apples.
criteria, correct? Yeah.
I agree. Okay, Philip, move forward, please, sir.
I've got some free quotes in here on swing sets. One from Superior Recreation of Carolina. And I don't know how to pronounce this, other place, Copan or something like that. And then we got one from Bars Recreation out of Marshall, North Carolina. Bars is the lowest price bid. All three of them are bidding, 4 builder swings and 2 cobbler swings. Bars and Superior are bidding a single post swings. And they're putting down the borders and engineering wood, fiber wood for safety zone fall. Any questions?
Yeah, a couple of quick questions. When I did the math, Superior looks like at the 55 yards of compliant wood fiber, that comes to about 6 inches. Whereas with bars, it comes to about 8 inches. So not a whole lot of difference there, but it seems to be a little bit softer. But my question with bars is I don't see anywhere on there anything about the ADA ramp. The other two make it a point to say that it includes an ADA ramp, whereas bars doesn't say that. Is there a requirement for the ADA ramp? Or to make it ADA compliant?
It should be for a public, for public
Yeah.
access.
Now, is bars,
You absolutely, I think, have to have an ADA.
yeah, they just, I couldn't, if you guys could find it, I've looked and I don't see it anywhere. Is bars the same one that did the playground equipment?
No.
No?
I don't reckon.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Well, then if I read it correctly, Bars, which is the cheapest, has got a star there that says add $2,040 if we want them to install it.
Yeah, that comes to 9,411.94, so it's still under by a little bit. Let me ask another quick question. Bars does not say anything else about site prep, whereas the others do. They say they'll prep the site and all the debris has to be taken away. They'll dump it in our facility, whatever it is, but we have to take it away. So the second thing is, that's two things, ADA ramp for bars, the site prep, and if you notice, it says capacity, and you go back to their second letter on the second page of their letter, it says user capacity 12. I only count 6. Where are they coming up with 12?
What was that question again?
They're saying user capacity right here is 12.
Maybe the age 12, I don't know.
Is-
That's what
I don't know.
No, the ages are, 5 to 12, so is that where it's coming from? I don't know, I'm just saying. All right, that's a minor point. The ADA is the big thing. Can we insist if we go along with that bid that they just throw in or make sure it's ADA compliant with the ramp?
Yeah.
That'll cost them a few $100 extra, but it should have been, I think it should have been thrown in the bid to begin with.
Well, if you add that plus the installation fee, then you're gonna be right over the rest of it.
Okay?
Yeah, you figure out installation fee, you only, I don't know, $100 fee off.
$2,400 brings it up to 94, and the ramp other people are looking at was like $400, so they'll bring it up to 98.
The ADA ramp and the other one's $570.
Okay, so we're up at about $10,000 then.
I think you're gonna end up having about the same amount in both of those. I mean, so I do think you gotta make sure that you got the ADA, because if you don't,
Well, you know what? Let me just go back and say, the reason I favor bars is even with the installation fee, it still brings it up comparable to the Superior one. But if you look at bars, when you go back on the back side of it, they provide a whole page of warranties where the others don't. It answers a lot of questions on the back side.
They're in Raleigh and the other crowd's in South Carolina, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
One of them's in the coast down here,
Bars,
Superior's at, yeah, it's in South Carolina, I know.
Mhm.
But that-
this one, Bars
He's
is
out.
Morrisville, North Carolina, which is up there above the fire.
but I do like the statement of warranty. It covers, almost a third of the page. It answers a lot of questions.
You can't gain the pressure with sailor breath, he's out, somewhere down around the coast.
Was there anything about the surface for the play area? 'Cause I'm looking on
Yeah,
ADA, there's some rules about having about what type of surface. I don't have the exact details on that yet, but I hadn't seen if there was a discussion of that. Like a surface, like if it has that rubbery stuff or.
Yeah, they said certified engineered wood fiber on most of them, I think. Yeah, all of them say, but one of them says, and a fabric filler. I guess that's on the bottom for drainage, but
All right, well, what I can do is if you guys, we can look over it and make sure that everything is met. I see a couple different things. Talking about having the ADA requiring a surface. And then also that there's some ground accessible play options. So I'm not sure. I can look into this further and just make sure that anything we have is gonna meet all these. But I'll have to look back at that.
are we able to table this till the next meeting, Mayor?
Absolutely.
Philip, are they gonna hang in there with the estimates until then? Bars is good for 90 days.
Yeah.
I'm not too concerned about Compan. The other one, I think, is at a 30 day, it's valid for 30 days. So I think we're okay till the next meeting. Do you not agree?
Probably. We're the bars, I know.
Yeah, Bars is 90 days and Superior is 30 days from date.
I'm sure they want the business, they'll quote it again, and they'll extend it, I'm sure.
Do what?
I said, I'm sure that if they want the business, they'll quote it again,
Okay.
that's what most places do.
I'd suggest we table it.
Now, what do you want to know?
Well, the ADA compliance that Mr. Anderson's coming up with the site,
What's that?
that's the ramp to.
Is
all
it
the
handicap
wheelchairs in there.
accessible?
Oh,
Handicap accessible. We have that on the playground side.
I know.
It's the same sort of deal.
Why don't you say that? I don't know what you're talking about.
And also, Mr. Anderson's site prep. Okay, and if they say certified engineered wood fiber on the bars thing, but is there a lining underneath that the other one spoke about?
Yeah, I'll have to get back to y'all, but apparently there are some requirements about the
Why would
number
you
of
want a
play
line?
components that would be accessible for someone that is in a wheelchair or something.
Yeah, okay, to keep stuff from growing up in there.
And keep the water from going out?
No, the water will drain through. It's like it's a landscaping fabric. Okay,
Okay.
all right.
All right. Did we decide to table this?
Yes, sir.
All right, so is Silver Stars, they have been meeting fairly regular. And, from what I understand, they've been enjoying themselves with meals and crafts and, fixing care packages and this and that and the other, so, they're still going along pretty good. And the event board update, not a whole lot to update right now, except the, Christmas parade, and I don't know if they're having anything to do with that or not. But, that's the biggest thing from the event board. That's basically it.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Councilman Eason, sewer report.
Okay, you got in your package a change order that was want to make on it, and it was the addition of the 340-foot, I believe it is, 330-foot north of Hiertan and the 300-foot south on Hiertan. Those two sections we picked up right at 20 customers. But it costs us a little bit of money, but I think personally it's well worth it. Okay, on the sewage extension for the Jones that goes out to Willits Crossing, it was $43.35, but Mr. Jones paid for that. He's already paid us for that. The north extension on Hiertan, of course, we were given a higher figure than this to start with, but it was $35,000. The south extension on Powhatan is 28,000. Over on Daniels Road, they deleted that out, and we get a return of $19,070. So we want to make a change order for $48,979.
How many people did we pick up on those two extensions?
The two extensions at back?
Yeah.
About 20.
Did they all
At
sign?
18 or 20.
Are they
Yeah,
potential or we all signed?
it's all signed.
Good.
I think there was 2, 4, and 7. There's 11 on the north end and 8 on the 19 up. 19 on, there's 8 on the south end.
How many did not sign up?
Huh?
How many did not sign up?
Everybody signed up.
Everybody signed up.
Everybody?
Yeah, when we made the extension.
Okay, cool.
In fact, some of them had signed up thinking that we were going that way anyhow. They had already signed up, but we cut it off at one point. But when we found out that manholes were so deep, we just went on up as far as we could go. That's one thing I want to do.
Is that, do we have to do that one?
We'll have to make a motion. Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve the change, the cost of $48,979.12 to add the sewer extensions on Powhatan North and Powhatan South.
We have a motion before the board by Councilman J.C. Triplett to extend the sewer north and south on Powhatan Road at a cost of $48,979.12. I hear a second.
Second.
Second by Councilman David McGowan. All in favor? Any opposition? All in favor. Move forward.
Okay, now the other thing that I have on the sewage is we made our bore on Prickett. We're making our bore up at Sheraton. But we've got to make a bore on Harrison, from Harrison under fire department to hit a manhole. We're gonna have to close Harrison on the fire department end for about a week. We got to dig a borehole so we can get down and bore under it. But we might not have to close the whole road. We've got to talk to the state about it. And once we talk to them, find out, we're gonna get with the chief and the fire department and tell them when we're gonna do it and how we're gonna do it and how long we're gonna be shut down. Now, I think we've got almost all of Main Street. We're up to Kenny's property out here. We've probably got 2 more days out there after it quit raining. But like I say, they're gonna start down Jones Road and come down. And then we'll know more about how much or when we're gonna do some of the other stuff, because they've got a special boring man to come in and do 3 sites. Locklear is gonna come in and do the boring under the railroad tracks at 102 and 103 mile markers. And then they're gonna do the bore at Fire Department Road under at the pumping station. But we got to hit that mark too, so that's the reason they're getting Locklear. But when we make the bore also on Harrison, we're gonna get with the county, which we'll try to do that next Thursday. We're gonna need to shut the pumping station at Ives Landing, so you're gonna have to be careful.
I'll come to your house.
Go to the creek. But you can still come to the house, no problem. And the pumping station at Fire Department Road, we're gonna have to shut them down for about 2 hours at the most. But what we're gonna do is get the county to pump them dry before we start the bore, before we start the taking bore into the manhole. And originally, we were supposed to take that manhole out and put a 5-foot manhole in, but the county's already told us that we could just make a bore and go in and bore that manhole and just run that line in, but it'll take a couple hours to do it.
looking for.
Could you,
But you don't need us to do anything, you're just letting us know.
Yeah, I just letting everybody know that this is coming up. That's the
since we have,
biggest.
since we have like 120 residents at Ives Landing, do you have a date?
No,
That we can-
we'll get that when we go through our meeting next Thursday. We're having a sewage meeting with the contractor
Okay.
and he'll give us a date then.
Can you just email that to me somehow so I can give it to Sean and we'll notify everybody in Ives Landing?
Either that or we'll put it on the
Yeah, it'll
blackboard.
be on Blackboard, because we've already helped the sewer people out there now on Blackboard.
We'll put it on blackboard, if
And
nothing
also-
else. Or we can still send you an email.
Yeah, the email would be nice, because I'm on the Blackboard. We'll get to that later, but an
But
email.
if you really don't think that you can hold it, we'll put porta johns on.
Nice out diarrhea medicine.
Ms. Bird, meet your friend.
But that is gonna be the biggest bore and the worst one we're gonna have is when we have to shut down the zoo pumping
All
station.
right, thank you.
But they won't be for long.
Okay, thank you.
2 to 3 hours.
Okay,
And I would imagine at the most 3.
let's go for 2.
They run the creek.
Huh?
They run the creek, that's all they do.
Yeah.
Millions of
But
gallons
when we shut the road out, he said he might be able to leave one lane open because the boring pit's gonna have to be right out almost to center line. We'll have to bring it out to the center line to bore straight into that manhole.
And one thing you didn't mention, they've got 3 to 4 crews working in here now.
4. They got 3 laying pipe and 1 doing testing.
So they're trying to expedite their process, it appears. So, all right, good deal. Thank you very much. Move on to Councilman McGowan for police department report.
Chief Williams, floor is yours.
Yes, I want to point out that there's a typo, apparently I've cut and paste this word many times. It's compiled by me, the October report. The 2018 Pumpkin Festival and Memorial Run, we had 5 officers work, and in addition with the fire department personnel, they were being a great help. We used their trucks and we used their personnel, and really helped out on that particular run and the run we had this past month also. We had one incident that occurred. It was unclear whether or not it was actual vandalism or just rough horseplay on the seesaw machine at the Pumpkin Festival. We also have a continuing investigation of a sexual assault that happened in September, into September. We've actually finished our part of the investigation. Now we're waiting on, I guess, the attorneys to hammer out what they're going to do. We've had increased patrols in the Old Mill Village subdivision, Kids Country area. The area has been, we had 2 accidents within the last couple of weeks in that same area within a 48-hour period. So it is a problem area. And we've increased patrols trying to slow down people, kind of like what we do at the elementary school area. Last month, we also had, we welcomed about 100 kindergartners from Wilson's Mills Elementary School who visited the police department. They did a walking field tour, field trip. They came by and we visited with them. And we did the stranger danger talks and fire and safety tips and that type of thing. We also did something similar with Kids Country, same type of thing where we actually went to them and presented the same type of talks to them. October 30th, we responded to a suspicious call of a partially nude person behind Union Hill AME Church. The call was determined to have been a medical issue. It was quickly cleared. I included that because I just wanted to make it clear it was not some kind of predator or some kind of, unseemly person standing out there. It was a legitimate medical emergency. The police department website has currently been revamped a little bit. I just want to say I'm proud of the officers that we have. We have a mix of seasoned veterans and a lot of young folk also. And what we did was we kind of changed it. I wanted people in the community to kind of know what kind of officers we have and let them kind of showcase their experience and training. So on there, It's not complete yet, but most of the officers have a little short bio and they have their picture and photograph on there. And, you know, just telling a little bit about who they are and, you know, what their experiences and what they bring to the community. And I'm looking forward to some upcoming new hires, potentially adding them to it, because we just got some viable candidates on the website for both full and part-time positions that are available. Also, just want to add this: police department's going to adopt 2 families and adopt a family program for the Christmas holidays, and there's going to be some flyers and mailers going out tomorrow to all the local churches and businesses in the community. Just letting them know what we're doing, and if they want to assist with any kind of donations, they will give to help out. For the month of October, we had 6 motor vehicle and wreck investigations. We had 4 domestic dispute incidents, 7 disabled motorists that were assisted. We had 12 warrants that were either attempted or served, 19 warnings, 8 citations, 3 arrests, 24 vehicle stops, 8 animal complaints. And I expect that number to go up next month because we had we chased about 5 potbelly pigs for about 10 days based on 911 calls, people calling in. We had 9 suspicious person vehicle calls, and we assisted EMS, fire, and other LEL about 12 times. And incidents and reports, of course, we're monitoring daily checks of neighborhoods, churches, and elementary school and businesses. I included a number on there. We don't normally do it, but when you see 948 for the neighborhood checks, the system that we have allows us to log in every time we go through, say, Ives Landing or one of the communities. And during the month of October, we checked the various neighborhoods 948 times. We had 95 church checks. The individual churches were checked 95 times each month. And the elementary school and businesses are 309 times. So we're out there in the community trying to make a presence, just letting us know, letting the people know that we're out there and if they need anything, we're going to do.
Chief, as everybody knows, I'm the police liaison, and I talk to the chief quite a bit, but I don't ask him some of these questions purposely so I can ask him in front of everybody to get the answers, all right? So I'm not asking questions he knows. Chief, any park incidents with our new park that I don't see in it? So we're good all the way around so far?
Yeah, we're still monitoring for people loitering after hours or just not supposed to be there. We haven't had any important incidents.
Okay. Meetings. What meetings do you take? I mean, the chief's meeting, any other meetings you attend during the month?
I go to the annual chiefs, the monthly chief meeting every month with the various Johnson County sheriffs and police chiefs around the community. Also, one of the, I can't remember the name of it, some kind of friend. Partnership.
Okay.
That's held in Smith.
Okay. Yeah, on the meetings, I sit next to Sheriff Bizzle at the Johnson County Commissioners meeting, and he speaks highly of you, so there you go. Last question. I know we've discussed before, but is there any policy changes? You were discussing the fact that you want to change some. Have we changed any between you and Leanna?
We have not. I did look at 2 policies that conflicted. There was, dates back to 2014, we had 2 different policies as far as police officer take-home vehicles. One of the policies, the town policy had, the officer had to live within the ETJ or within the town limits. And it conflicted with the department policy, which said the officer could stay within 20 miles. We've synced those up now. It should be one and the same. And it actually says now that it's my recommendation that the officer be allowed to take home the vehicle if he lives within 20 miles of the town limits of Wilson's Mills.
Okay.
And there are a couple of benefits to that. Number one is helps morale. The officers be able to take home the vehicle. And it also gives us a little leverage. There are not many departments in the area that allow that. So for as far as recruitment, you know, it's something that means something to police officers to be able to take on your vehicles. And lastly, it's a billboard for the town. You have it on the side of the car, Wilson's Mills. So if people haven't heard about it and they see it on the side of the car, they ask themselves, where's Wilson's Mills?
Has this policy, I mean, you work this out with obviously Leanna as the administrator. Has this been implemented or is this something that the board needs to discuss or?
It'll come before the board as part of the municipal policy, municipal personnel policy.
When will we be seeing that?
Probably December. There's lots of changes whenever you made to it.
Great. All right, thank you. Thanks, Chief.
Good job, thank you. Randy, maintenance department?
I hadn't talked to Matt this week. I don't know if the signs have come in yet for, the park.
The hours.
Yeah, the
They did.
rules and regulation signs, okay. Have they been posted or
Don't know if he's posted them or not, but I will find out.
Okay. I'll call them tomorrow and
I
find
did,
out.
I think they came in last week sometime.
Other than that, I don't have anything other than the Easton project, and I'll continue to work on that and, hopefully let you know something by middle week of next week, so we get with the engineer to start hopefully doing something.
I had a question posed to me, and I think now's the time to bring it up. Trash, and the calls I got were at the intersection of Strickland Road and 70 Highway. That's in the city limits of the town, and there's a lot of cardboard there and a great big bag of trash. Is that in the confines of where we would be responsible for picking that up? Will we report that to the state so they can pick it up, or what do we do?
Yes, sir, that's the state.
Okay.
DOT has to, unless you know somebody that is willing to go pick it up and not charge the town for it, but DOT is ultimately responsible for it, since it's on their right of way.
So what we need is a phone number to refer that to. All right, good deal. Finance officer.
Did you say it was at the intersection of Strickland and 70?
Yeah, the short section on the,
Between Wilson's Mills and 70?
would be the north side of 70.
Okay.
And I went by there and looked at it today. Crossover, if you turn left at Charles Wilson's house, it's between there and 70.
Actually, that's become a dumping ground because I went through there the other day and the state was picking up mattresses that had been left on the side of the road.
Is it on the side of the road or is it only a piece of property on the
Yes.
corner?
On the side of the
It's on
road.
the side of the road. It's,
Okay.
it's in the ditch.
Okay.
Majority of it's in the ditch.
We'll have
But they had
to-
several crews out there picking up, like toddler mattresses and bags of trash that were thrown out there the other day.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Hudson, financial report?
Yes, sir. Mayor, before you have the town's October revenue and expenditure report, we'll be making some, in December, we will have, for the end of that month, we will present in January the 6 months, budget amendments for that, for the first part of the fiscal year.
Yes,
So they will be presented in January for the budget amendments.
I have some questions. I know we all want to go home, but I do have some questions finance wise.
All right.
Looking on page 105, Sherry, under administration expenditures, the office supplies, are we gonna have to make a change here or a budget amendment later on? Because we're almost fully budgeted there. We're at 96% and go down to, and I'm still not sure, what is contracted services all the way down the bottom? Because we didn't budget anything. We're down 6,000.
Contracted services is where we've hired on the new position, and we've gone through an agency in
Okay.
reference for Emily. So we'll do a budget amendment
Okay.
in reference to all the negative line items that are in the budget.
In the whole thing?
Mhm.
Okay, then let me move over to Chief Williams. On your part on page 2 of 5, police department expenditures. Out of curiosity, what caused us to go so far over on the part-time salaries? Well, either one.
That was primarily due to, after the new fiscal budget started, then Lieutenant Billy Hilliard it was acting chief. And, most of the monies that were paid for him came out of the
Okay.
part-time budget.
That's fine. Next one down, uniforms, about 6 or 7 down from that. Are we gonna need a budget amendment on that? Because we're at 75% now, we're only halfway through the year.
Yes, most likely, and there's a couple of reasons why. Before I came on, several uniforms and equipment, accessories were ordered, to bring the officers up to speed. When I came on, I needed full, accessories and uniforms. And also, we're anticipating with new hires, at least, 2 part-timers
Right.
and 1 new full-time.
Okay. And the last one is under pre-employment testing, about 5 from the bottom. We're at 401%. We're down that. What caused that to go over so much? Was that you?
No, I think that was a carryover from, the previous, budget. We had 2 hires, Officer Saka and Officer Joyner. They had psychological exams and, drug testing. And also, when I came on, I had, the drug testing also.
Okay.
If I could just clarify on that portion of it, that's only needed, for newer graduates. So there isn't anything usually budgeted for that. It's kind of expensive, so we don't normally budget it for it because we don't know who we're gonna hire or have to hire. So, anytime that has happened, that we've hired somebody who's a new graduate that has to go through that psych evaluation, because that has to be done in the beginning.
Would it be wise to put at least one in there for the upcoming budget, just in case?
Probably not. I mean, I wouldn't think it would be that big a deal. We usually have that much left over in that department anyway. That's just the reason that it's not already put in there.
Okay, I think that's it. I had one more tab, but I don't think it's a big deal. On page 4 or 5, go down about 7 or 8 under the travel section. We're at 96% on the travel budget of 1,500. Is this a one-time thing, or is this gonna kind of be continued? Should we change the budget next year to increase travel allotment? You see what I'm looking at, 1,500?
Under the planning department.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's on the planning. You're right, Mayor. Page 4 or 5.
Okay, and what was your question?
No, I'm just looking at, we're at 96% of the budgeted amount. We're gonna have enough to see us through the year, or should we change that next year?
We will probably have to make a small adjustment to that, but it shouldn't be too big. A big portion of her classes come at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
So,
So
and
that's-
it's for the flood map certification and stuff. She's been doing that. We plan that whenever we hire her, so.
Okay, very well. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. Town administrator?
The only thing that I have is, when we were doing our shredding and purging files a couple months ago, we came across a couple of amendments to the records and retention schedule that is always approved by the council. And there were a couple of amendments that you guys have not approved and that are not on record. So the amendment, is attached to the front sheet. They're minor amendments, and this is what we've been going by anybody. I'm not sure if everybody should be familiar with the records and retention schedule. I explained it today to the mayor, but, so basically this is what we go by in local government to determine when things can be thrown out and how long things have to be kept.
And that's a state mandated thing, is that correct?
That's
I hear a motion that we approve these record retention schedule amendments.
So moved.
Motion's made by Councilman Triplett and seconded by Councilman McGowan. All in favor? Ayes have it. We move forward. We will now open our second open forum at 8:25. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward.
I do. I just have a general procedural question. Sean Fritz, 46 Woodland. I have a procedural question. It's probably more best suited for Mr. Jernigan. We're talking on with the homeowners board. We wanted to post speed limit signs within the neighborhood, just because there are some straightaways or drag strips, as some people call them. What is the best course of action to go through and do that? And if it's an approved item, who burdens the cost, and how many can we have for so many road feet or?
Their state, I'm sorry, their
Their
town maintain.
Yeah, so
All
we
right.
just requested.
Just send a formal request in, to Leanne, to Matt,
Just email?
Matt to get them up, and I think what the minimum speed limit is 25, or is it 20?
In subdivision, it's 25.
25 in
Minimum
subdivisions,
or maximum?
minimum.
Minimum.
Or speed limit is 25, max, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
That's
backwards.
how a lot of people look
That's how
at it
fast
right
they're
now.
driving
That's
through
right.
there.
They think 25 is a minimum.
Max is 25.
And the other was just an observation. We talked about it. We had a rooster on the loose in our neighborhood, and they weren't welcome. And so on the website, it listed phone number and extension to call to get to animal control. After speaking with Mr. McGowan, he said that that extension doesn't exist anymore.
All of our phone lines were fixed last Thursday.
Fixed, or so the
All the
website
extensions are correct now, and
on the website as well?
I think that on-duty officer number has been changed, has it not?
well, I'm doing the officer never shut me down.
It shouldn't be on the website at all. Not for his, not for his
That's
cell
that
phone.
has changed.
Not for his cell
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah, the on-duty cell phone should never have been listed on the website to begin with, which is why the number changed. If somebody needs an on-duty officer, they can contact somebody at town hall and then we can reach them, or they can call 911 if it's an emergency, so.
Does Matt now have an extension back here? Because he was
His
difficult to
extension
get.
has not changed, and it is back here now.
Okay.
Is there just a page that lists all the extensions on the website, or is it each department? You have to go through the,
I don't think there's a page that just unless it's just the contact us page, but,
I mean, I
when you
Googled
call
it,
in, all of the prompts are correct now.
Okay,
And it'll say if you need administration, press 1, or if you need police department 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was it, just a note, an I noticed type thing.
Did we, I know Matt approached you. Has anything been done regarding that, that net to catch piglets and chickens? Because he can't catch them as he is. So I suggested that he talk to you about getting a pole net where you can grab these little juicy piglets, give them to Donald.
They don't want them.
I don't want them.
Well,
Johnny?
I got an incinerator.
There's a problem, the problem with that though, and it's kind of funny, but it's really not, because we could get him the equipment to catch these pigs, but he really doesn't need to be catching these pigs, because when he does, we don't have anything that we can do with them.
We
Well,
have
no,
nowhere to keep
The
them.
town
Right,
doesn't have
okay.
anywhere to keep them, so we're not allowed to bring them out here and put them in the kennels, so the county.
County
should
Animal
be
Control
the
don't
one
have
to
anywhere
do
to
that.
be.
What seems to be the solution? Because they're only gonna get bigger, then they're gonna start
The county
rooting.
needs to come out and.
Moving
so we
target
call the
practice?
county.
Not within
Police?
town limits.
I think really they were pets and somebody turned them loose. They're not belly pigs.
Right.
Correct.
One of the construction crews caught one. They called the town hall. The town hall says, everybody's gone. We don't have anything to do with it.
Take him home.
They turn him loose.
Okay.
They turn him back loose.
That's only gonna get worse, I'm afraid.
I mean, anybody who sees it or needs help with it, welcome to call here. But my point is that Matt can't go out and catch it with any kind of equipment, because if he puts it in the truck, he has nowhere to take it. We can't keep it here.
Not to Animal Control Smithfield.
They say they won't take them.
They do not take anything unless it's domesticated.
Pretend like you're going over there and drop it off on the way.
Well, they're only open
I
at
have
5
some,
during the day.
some
They're
burlap
the
bags,
worst hours ever.
some short rope.
Take
Okay.
it. I'm gonna tell them.
They do have somebody on call.
Get a cinder block.
Yes, they have
Put
somebody
them
on
in
call
the bag,
24
drop
hours.
them on the roof.
Lita Bird, 755 Powerton Road, Clayton. Y'all all know me, but anyway, I just wanted to let everybody know the Christmas parade is December the 2nd. and y'all are invited to come, and if you want to put a float in it, I'll take that too. If you know anybody that wants to be in it, let me know.
Do we have a band, music,
Um,
band marching?
Your guess is as good as mine.
No, Johnny, I'm not playing my trumpet on the band.
We're still working on that.
Okay, all right.
All right. Anyone else wishing to speak in the open forum? If not, we'll close the open forum at this time. It's 8:30.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Oh, wow. A motion has been made by Councilman Triplett, seconded by Councilman Philip Wright to adjourn. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate your time. And happy Thanksgiving.
JC, you are